Good evening. I want to call to order the Abington School Committee meeting for Tuesday, August 28th, 2018. We're here at the Abington Middle High School Library, and I'd like to ask anybody to stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before I get into the hearing of visitors, I just want to bring up two things that have happened, I guess, a while ago now, but since we last met. On June 23rd, which was 4 days, I think, after our last meeting, the Abington High School softball team won the Division III state championship. I'd like to acknowledge them, congratulate them on all the hard work. They finished 25-2 and beat Turner Falls in the state championship game. I think the semifinals actually happened when we were here because we got messages saying that it had come through. So congratulations to the softball team. And also, in the meantime, the Abington High School was named the recipient of the South Shore League's Clark Chatterton Sportsmanship Award for the 2017-18 school year. The award is presented annually to one school of the 10-team South Shore League for exemplary sportsmanship throughout the entire athletic program. Coaches of each varsity sport select the top programs based on sportsmanship using a rubric at the conclusion of each season. The results from each individual sport are then tallied to declare an overall winner. In a league that places such a high value on sportsmanship and all of its member schools exhibiting qualities of this, it is an honor to receive this prestigious recognition for the entire athletic department and the school in general. So congratulations to the high school and the high school athletics overall. And thank you for representing Abington in the best possible light. So having said that, move on hearing of visitors. Would anybody like to speak before we get started? All right, seeing none. The next step is reading and approval of minutes, and we have quite a few due to executive sessions that occurred last spring for the most part, so we'll read through them all and make motions to approve each one individually. So the first one is for our last meeting on June 19th. When you have a chance to look them over, if the committee wants to make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So next up would be an executive session on June 19th.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And next up, we have an executive session that occurred on June 6th.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
The executive session of May 22nd.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Two more. Executive session that occurred on May 8th.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And last, executive session that occurred on April 24th.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. All in favor? So, thank you. That part is done. Next up, we have communication from the Massachusetts Association of School Committees and, as a superintendent, Massachusetts Association of Superintendents Joint Conference 2018. It's going to take place November 7th through the 10th at the Resort and Conference Center in Hyannis, Mass. Everybody has a form with different things on there.
The whole itinerary is on the website, masc.org.
And if whatever may be interested, let me or you know. Get it set up. That moves us on to principal report. Mr. McCurtain from the middle school.
Good evening and thank you. I'm here tonight seeking approval for field trip for our grade 8 students to Philadelphia, June 6th to 8th in 2019. This will be the 4th time that our students have gone. The trip continues to get better every year. We have a committee member who actually was in attendance last year, and I have with me Mr. Marco Gabuto, the Philly person himself, who'd like to speak to you a little bit about the trip and the opportunity that our students have from it.
Hi. Thanks for hearing us. Basically, the trip is generally the same as it's been. I've spoken about it before to everyone here. I can provide those details again to everyone. We take all the students. It's open to the entire 8th grade, and we all go to essentially, we go to Philadelphia. We see several different sites, and then we return. The total is 3 days. I think over the past 3 years, it's been a successful trip. I think it's been going very well. The students have been enjoying it, and we've been able to accommodate all of the students who wanted to go through fundraising and other measures that we do to get them there. The educational focus has remained the same. We still focus on Franklin as an iconic American figure. We still focus on the American Revolution. It jibes really well with the history curriculum. And I also incorporate some of Franklin's work into the English curriculum as well. I think as a philosopher, as a scholar, as a person, as an American, as a founding father, I think he's a very, very important figure. We're going to include another museum this year, something new that we hadn't done before. There's a new museum that just opened up. It's called the Museum of the American Revolution. So it's apparently very hands-on. I've heard great things about it, although I haven't been there yet, but I've heard really great things about it, and I'm looking forward to doing that. So I think overall the trip's been generally a success. And if there are some details, I know I've spoken with you, all of you, most of you, several times in the past about it. But if you need any more details from me, I'd be very happy to provide them or talk more about it, or answer any questions, of course.
I mean, Lisa, how
Well,
I know
I
you've
can
gone out a couple times, right?
Yep, I've been on the trip twice, the first year and last year, and it's an awesome trip. It's great for both the teachers and the students. The kids enjoy it so much. It's just such a great experience for these kids. Like, they bond so much just being together, and for some of these kids, the first time they've ever left, like we were talking about, like our town, like our state, it's an exceptional experience. And it's possible for all the students. Like, we do great fundraising for it, and I think we offer financial assistance, and we think we're able to pay for all the kids that asked for financial assistance last year. I just think the more and more that the trip has been there, like, people know about it and are excited about it, and I think the upcoming 8th graders are really looking forward to it, to have the experience. So,
Our 7th graders were talking about it last year.
yeah. It's great. It's great. I recommend it to all of the 8th graders, like, to really make it happen if you can, because it's a great experience for them. So
Thank
I have
you.
nothing but good things to say about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything?
No, I love it.
Okay, if not, looking for a motion to approve the overnight field trip for grade 8 students to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in June 2019 as presented.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too, thank you. Thank you. Up next, we have Dr. Fedorowicz for district initiative updates, and she has the PowerPoint on the screen.
Move the camera, that's cool.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
Thanks.
I'm excited to start this new year. I know the kids are coming back tomorrow. Teachers came back this week, so it's an exciting time of the year. I'm going to provide some updates from a few items from the summer that we've been working on to assist our team in getting a real strong start to the year. So just a quick overview. On tonight's agenda, I'm going to give an overview on PD planning survey results from the spring last year, which helped us to draft our PD offerings for this year. I'm going to talk about our curriculum night next month, Alice feedback from the spring, a plug for the new Facebook page, Everything Teaching and Learning at Abington, and then grant fund allocation and distribution, which will then segue into James's piece. He'll take over on that. So the first item I want to discuss is the PD planning survey that I sent out last spring. I sent it out last April. It was an anonymous online survey to the elementary staff to determine their interests, wants, and needs for professional development, and it was left open until June before they left for the summer. The responses that we received helped guide the professional development for this year, along with the district improvement plan and the school improvement plans. So it's that triangulation of data between what we need to do, state needs to do, and what the teachers are interested in doing. The survey consisted of a Likert scale and open-ended questions in core areas with room for general open comments about PD that they're interested in. The middle and high school are focusing on NEASC, department-based needs, and technology this year. They're going one-to-one in technology, so special attention has been given to technology to provide supports for teachers. Another big piece of our planning is our Curriculum and Professional Development Council, and we meet generally monthly during the year to discuss survey results, plan curriculum, and discuss professional development throughout the year. It's a dedicated committee that consists of 6 elementary teacher leaders, department heads, directors, principals, and somebody from technology. It provides an opportunity for everybody to come together, where everyone has a voice, there's open communication, and we discuss vertical alignment in curriculum instruction and assessment. So, results from our professional development survey from the elementary school. We focused on 4 main areas. 1, ELA, 2nd math, science, and then a general overall, because these have been our heavy hitters over the last year or so. So we looked at grade level, their primary role in questions like, what would a productive and beneficial PD day for a focus on ELA or math or science look like for you? And as you can see from the results, for ELA, one of the biggest components was technology related to our new Wonders program. Teachers were also interested in writing and also looking at a combination of differentiated instruction in combination with our balanced literacy, looking more at centers, incorporating more workshop model, and independent reading. For math, this past year we did a lot of work with in the ELA with differentiated instruction in centers that teachers want to segue that into the math because they felt that student engagement had increased and we can reach more of the students that we need to reach. For science, this is the first year that it's fully rolled out with the new standards, so teachers are really interested in aligning the standards with our resources. We received new textbooks this year in grades 3, 4, and 5 that are aligned. We also have our FOSS kits, which is very inquiry-based and hands-on science for the kids. And so we're really looking at making sure everything is aligned. And then for general open feedback from the teachers, a lot of people were interested in social emotional learning, behavior, more technology, and classroom management. So over the summer, we worked to incorporate and blend the teacher feedback along with the district and school initiatives. Again, that triangulation of data to see where we could best fit our professional development. For professional development overview draft, we're offering, as you can see for ELA, for example, today we offered Advanced Wonders Technology. So we had a trainer come in to talk more about, it was a step further than, okay, let's log on, here are the different components. It's how you can actually use it and engage the students in the classroom. We're looking at writing later in the year, and today, and again, later in the year, we're also going to focus on differentiated instruction, incorporate with the balanced literacy, some independent reading. So you can see we're targeting the areas that a lot of teachers wanted. For math, we're going to be doing that again. We're going to be looking at differentiation, centers, workshop. In science, during the year, we're going to be looking at updating resources, not necessarily updating resources, aligning to make sure that we have what we need and are teaching to the frameworks. And then for our open-ended questions that were outside of the core courses, we're looking at social emotional learning, behavior management, and technology. I have these kind of outlined for you. So we have ELA, we've got some writing, math, science, social emotional learning, and technology. So because we generally have half days only about once a month, we need to finagle the schedule so we can fit a lot in and make sure that it's robust and rigorous. So although this is a draft, we do have follow-up sessions. You can see follow-up technology, we have supports. We also follow up during faculty and our common planning time throughout the year, so it's not necessarily just in professional development. It helps us to answer any questions and sustain what we're doing for curriculum instruction and assessment. This morning, I sent out a survey to all staff. They were provided an opportunity to take an anonymous online survey. And they were all given a few minutes at the end of the PD session so that they could answer the questions while they were right there online, which was very convenient because most people were at a technology station. They had their laptop. All right, next, we're excited to announce that our elementary curriculum night is being held on Wednesday, September 26th at 6 o'clock. Last year, it was a huge success. We had a huge turnout and a lot of positive feedback. So based on last year, we do anticipate a higher audience, and we want to hold opening session in the auditorium this year as opposed to the seminar room in the middle high school. So again, that's in the auditorium. It'll be grades K through 6. We'll again start with the main session and then do breakout sessions by either grade level or by building, just so parents can attend different sessions. We'll have signs out. That was a suggestion from last year in our feedback, having signs as to where teachers are going to go and what rooms they're going to be in, so it's very clear and we don't waste any time with travel. We're going to go over the current and new curriculum, discuss ways in which parents can access homeschool connections and provide learning supports at home for their children. And we'll be sending out flyers for that or be going to the community. For Alice, I wanted to provide some feedback on the Alice training from last year because that was a big professional development undertaking. Recall that Alice is the active shooter response training that we have adopted within the district. Last spring, we conducted multiple Alice trainings for the teachers, and we also did the training with the students at the end of the year. We received a lot of positive feedback from our Alice training. The staff were provided at the end of Alice, again, for the last few minutes of the training, they were provided an anonymous feedback survey that was online. I have to say there was a lot of anticipation prior to the training, but based on the positive feedback that we had both in the online survey and just people coming up to us and letting us know, there was a real sense of empowerment after the training and I think a relief overall. And staff, they were happy and appreciative that we did go through this training. The next slide I'm going to show are the questions that we asked in the survey. So it was basically which building are you at? What's your primary role? Did the training increase your understanding in the learning process? Did it provide some useful strategies? Was the facilitator knowledgeable about the topic and responsive to the needs and interests of the participants? Was it a good use of time? And will it have a useful impact in your professional responsibilities? So later this evening, Peter will address what we're doing further. Alice. Again, I want to put a plug in for the Facebook. It's new. At the faculty meetings yesterday, I brought this up with the teachers. So I'd love it to be a popular page for people to like and check out and see what we're doing. I've expanded it. Not only pre-K through 6, but it's going to go all the way up through secondary as well. So look for some of that great work there. Some of the new curriculum we're going to add, the science, the ELA, the STEAM that we had, the digital literacy. So a lot of great work. Okay, last. Just a quick overview of our annual grants update for this year. Abington receives a variety of grants, which is focused on Title I, special education, student academic support, and professional development. For the Title IIA, which is our teacher quality grant, Abington is receiving $49,318 for the 2018-19 school year. This is a $5,167 decrease from last year. For Title I, This year, we're receiving approximately $215,000, which is an $8,113 decrease from last year. Now, the majority of these grants are used to fund things like staff salaries, whether it's teachers, support staff, paraprofessionals. The remaining funds are used to focus on professional development. So what type of professional development? Might include our ELL staff, which are English language learners, social and emotional learning, and that was something that came across on the PD survey as well. Inclusive practices, curriculum writing, instructional practices, literacy, technology conferences and training, things like ASHA conferences, which is the American Speech Language Hearing Association. So it's used for a lot of different things so that we can incorporate a lot of professional development for our staff, whether they are a classroom teacher or a special support. I am going to leave the rest in just a minute for James Robbins, who is our new Director of Student Services. So he'll continue in with the special education grants. But in the meantime, thank you very much. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Back to the PD planning survey. How
Yes.
many, so 30 responses, and how many surveys were distributed?
For the planning piece?
Yep, back one slide. So you had 30 responses.
Yes.
What was the distribution of? I'm just looking for a percentage of return.
It was the entire, an email went out to the entire pre-K through 6 staff.
Do you know that?
That number, that's
There's
what,
about
I'll-
60 teachers, psychologist guidance total
okay,
at the elementary level,
okay.
because that was the elementary piece, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what
It's about half.
so you had about a 50% return rate. That's
Yes.
what it said. Thank you.
And did you say that was completed, they completed that at the end of something? This one?
The PD survey?
Yeah, I know we've talked at past meetings about ways to increase this percentage of participants. Was this one of those times where staff filled it out, like at the end of when was this distributed? Or how?
So this was actually distributed before our conversation about
Okay.
sending out
Okay.
the survey. But what we did is we advertised it in the school newsletters. Emails went out to teachers. I discussed it. I popped into faculty meetings. The principals talked about it, and it was left open for a couple months. So
So now that you've done some, like the Alice one was done live, or today's was done live, do you feel like you get a higher percentage rate of people completing the survey? Did you?
I'll have to get back to you on that
Okay.
because there were some people that were going from one session right to the other, and I'm leaving it open for a couple days. So I can check and see what that percentage is.
I have a couple questions too, if anyone else wants to go.
I have one quick one.
Go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
With the survey that you sent out today, you said it had everything to do with pre-K up through the high school.
Yes.
Was there a section for the Canvas and Eduscape to find out, like, particularly if the teachers liked it and
So
if there was anything they could do to change things?
So what I did for this particular survey that I sent out today, I specifically targeted each PD session. So I sent it out to all staff pre-K through 12 in every different component, and I listed it out. So for example, the first question was, are you taking this survey for, or the training that you attended was the Waterford, and it was pre-K. Was it the Wonders Digital Online? Was it Eduscape? Was it Canvas? So yes, it is broken out by the specific training sessions. And since the staff most of the staff did 2 training sessions today, and I made it clear that they need to fill out 2. So if they did Eduscape in the morning, fill out a survey for that, and then Canvas in the afternoon. And it was a very short survey, again, a Likert scale, opportunity for open-ended questions, comments, answers. And then the last question was completely open-ended. What else would you like to share with the PD that could direct us for future?
Awesome. So will we get some feedback from that after we go through it?
Yes, that's the next plan. So I'm going to leave it open for a couple more days. I know that the sessions that I attended, there were many teachers that sat there because we did give them that 10 minutes at the end, and they did sit there and take the survey. So I don't have the numbers yet because I'm going to give them a day or two.
Thank you.
I have a question about the page with the PD planning survey results broken down by numbers.
Yes.
Wonders program was purchased for what grades? K through
5.
5. That's what I thought. So we've talked, I know at past meetings, about a huge investment for Wonders reading program that the district has made, and that it was a big shift. You presented the shift from basal to a workshop model. So as I was just eyeing through, what people responded that they need, and then how it was broken up on the next page, it's tough in grade 5 because it's science-heavy curriculum.
Yes.
So it makes sense that they have all of these grade 5 aligned science standards plugged in the 5 and 6 column on the next slide. My question is there a plan in future school years to support ELA in grade 5? Because they're, according to this template, they're the only grade K through 5 for which the program was purchased that we haven't really helped them fully embrace the shift in ELA. And I know that that's because they're science heavy. And then even grade 6 is moving into the new ELA collaborative planning. So I don't know if you have thoughts on grade 5, the kind of lost grade at the moment there.
Yeah, so this was actually a point of conversation. And since there's a lot of technology coming down into the middle school, and we're going the 1-to-1, and then the 5 and 6 will have the laptop carts, it'll almost be a 1-to-1. We felt that since the trainers were in for Canvas and Eduscape for this one time, that they would do that. The plan is that with the training from today with the Wonders digital online component, I've already spoken with grade 5 today. I went in and checked in with them today. And since I attended that training and we have our tech liaisons, we're going to support them either most predominantly at the common planning time.
Could you maybe keep us updated in the future, for even the 2019-20 school year? Because I think the digital literacy piece of the program is enough to sort of tackle as a teacher in 5th grade. I think the theoretical shift in how to teach from a basal reading program to then do a workshop-based model, I don't know that 5th grade, I haven't seen anything yet that shows that 5th grade has really had a lot of professional development in the way that K through 4 has begun to have those conversations around workshop model and balanced literacy. So maybe I don't see a place for it in the 2018-19 school year, but maybe...
For the professional, right, and so that's something, and that's what I was trying to speak to too, is that more time at our common planning time, which is usually once a week, that's where we can kind of absorb some of that. I do know of some training workshops that are coming up that are on my radar to help assist the grade 5 with that.
And I think as they explore that digital piece more, they're going to start to want to know more about the other resources that aren't digital necessarily, but are in the hands of their students and how to make those classroom shifts. So it was just something that jumped out at me that I wanted to mention.
Well, if I could, some of the things that we do too, we need to sustain, because I feel like you do a professional development workshop and you get people, they take a step forward into it, and then they use it in their classrooms, and then you want to circle back to it and support it down the road, not just be a one and done. And these are things that are going to have to be like that,
And
continue
I
to
think
support.
there's evidence when you walk through buildings and when you are looking from a curriculum lens at classrooms and knowing that we've purchased those materials, that we need to see evidence that they're being used in the way that they were designed. And so I just want to be sure that that's happening from a fiscal perspective, but more importantly for, benefiting teaching and learning.
So I know grade 5, they start the program and they incorporate a lot of the centers and the stations and a lot of the skills, and they begin the transition about halfway through the year working on novels and a lot more literacy and backing off of things like the centers and the whatnot, so they go into more of the independent reading.
Great. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? Thank you, Dr. Podowitz.
All right, thank you.
I just want to add too, in the package, there's a flyer, the curriculum night flyers in there, as well as a updated version of what's on the screen right now, which was the 2018-19 draft with like key code essentially at the bottom of it. So,
Yes,
I guess.
right. And the curriculum night flyers also in Portuguese
Yeah.
as well in the back.
When do you think those will go out? Roughly.
Probably, we want to get them out sooner rather than later,
Mhm.
so we're thinking, I'm going to guess within the next week or two.
Okay.
Because we want people to plan.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
I believe it'll be in the newsletters pretty shortly as well when those start
Okay.
coming out.
Thank you.
Because we want to advertise early.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Move on to report of the Director of Student Services, Mr. James Robbins. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. All right, so my name is James Robbins. I'm the new Director of Student Services, and thank you for having me tonight.
No problem.
Tonight, I'll provide you with an overview of the Department of Student Services, our department's guiding principles, a description of our department's data and my interpretation of this data, an overview of our extended school year, a quick discussion on our Special Education Parent Advisory Council, and a note on homeschool students. And I'll try to keep it within 10 minutes. So before I kind of get into the meat of all that, I just want to follow up where Sherry left off in terms of grants, because some of them, or half of these, over half of these, are special education focused. So you'll see at the top, in the middle there, 94,142. So that grant is the big grant that helps to fund special education. As you'll see, it's gone up there, $27,547. The reason for the increase is over the past school year, our special education eligibility has gone up 1.3%. And so these funds are dedicated to offsetting that rise in eligibility. How those funds are used. So roughly 460,000 are used to pay for paraprofessional salaries. And the remainder are used for a combination of professional development, consulting work, and special education materials. When we submit our request for the grant, we actually don't have to articulate exactly how we're using that, and that's a desirable situation just because we can determine on an ongoing basis what it is we need. And it's especially good for someone like me who's new to the role and still understanding sort of where our what our needs are, so that if a realization dawns on me in say November, we'll have the funds in order to make that happen. The early education care 262. This of course funds the Abington Early Education Program, and this is overseen by Laura Monachino and will be used towards materials for early numeracy, early literacy, and early social and emotional learning. The 309 grant that you see there, this is designed in order to support the most at-risk students in the lowest performing building in a school district. So how we determine how we'll be spending those funds will be through a review of our MCAS data, which was just released a week or so ago. And so we'll kind of find where the areas are that we should dedicate those funds. And it'll either be in terms of materials or training for our staff. And then there's kind of some sad news at the bottom. In 274, you'll see that that's not funded for any school district this year. So the major notion behind that grant is that it should be used entirely for professional development for a special education program, but the funds just aren't there with the state this year.
Can I ask a question about that slide just before we get too far off, if that's okay?
Yeah, totally.
Where you lost the $7,100 on number 274, and you said that under 94,142 you gained, and that 460,000 is for paraprofessionals, and the remainder is for materials, consultation, and PD.
Correct.
Do you think you'll be able to continue the PD that you would have been able to do, with the 71? Are you going to kind of be able to cover it or close to?
Yes. I've definitely been sort of, I think, a squeaky wheel on that topic in a lot of conversations, that what is so important in that 240 grant is the ability to connect our staff to necessary resources and materials. So that's something I'll definitely be prioritizing. And also I should just mention that Sherry and I are, as I was going to mention later, just working very closely in all aspects of our job to promote collaboration between general ed and special education, but also with respect to grants. Some of the Title I grant we can still use for special education professional development. Some of the early ideas we have for professional development when it comes to 94-142, or also called 240, are we're going to send a number of our staff to some social communication training that's occurring in November, and also we're going to use the funds to send our speech language therapists to the ASHA convention.
Oh, that's great.
Moving on. All right, so starting with our overview of the Department of Student Services. The Department of Student Services consists of special education, English language learners, nurses, and Section 504 accommodation plans. In essence, our department provides supportive services for students who, for reasons of disability, physical or mental health, or language and cultural background, are in an imperfect position to participate in and make progress in the general ed curriculum. So, it's often said that an effective organization must be able to articulate its core principles to successfully perform its work. So I'm going to try to lay out the core principles that are going to guide our department's work. So first up there, you'll see high standards. We'll ensure that students are held to the highest possible standard, even when modifying curriculum, to maximize the extent that they're performing at grade level. Accessibility. We will aspire to make our gen ed classrooms a place where all types of learners can participate. And this will include alternative ways of presenting information, alternative ways of assessing students, and of alternative ways of allowing students to engage the curriculum. As I mentioned earlier, Sherry and I will be working closely in order to make sure that special ed and general ed are working closely together to get the best outcomes for our students, and especially all types of learners. Third principle. We will work to ensure enriching special ed content. So I'll be regularly reviewing our programs and trying to connect our staff to materials and training, and using our special ed grants strategically to do so. Next one, partnering with families. We know that we achieve the best results for our students when we partner with their families. We will proceed with the understanding that parents are experts on their children, and we will be proactive in engaging them. We'll also be sure to engage our CPAC and take their input very seriously. Next one, educating the whole child. We will make extra efforts to grow all children's competencies. And these include emotional awareness, emotional management, and social problem solving. We know this supports academic achievement and success in life outside of school. And the last principle, we will endeavor to make our school district a place that celebrates diversity and celebrates self. We will aspire to cultivate self-awareness and self-acceptance for all our students, and an appreciation of the diversity in our community and the society that they'll be entering. All right. Next up, I'm going to go through the data for the department.
Actually, could I have a question on your guiding principles? Your second principle, you can just, speak to. Our general education environments will be as accessible as possible. All types of learners and all students will be educated in general education environments to maximum extent appropriate. And that you're going to be, and you said that you and Cherry had been doing a lot of talking about how do you see yourself, I mean, that's a big undertaking. Mm-hmm. Actually getting into these, classrooms and making sure that that's happening.
Right.
I know, and that's a very broad question, but if you can just touch on that briefly.
Yeah, well, you're forgiven for a broad question because these are broad principles.
Gee, thanks.
You're supposed to sort of guide us, if in not entirely fleshed out forms, right? But that's a great question. And so if I were to control all factors in our school district, how I would answer that is that we're going to make sure that we connect all our staff to some pretty rigorous training involving like the universal design for learning principles, and that we would work through our district and building curriculum accommodation plan to make sure that it's sort of fully fleshed out and a lived document. Also just sort of that our multi-tiered system of supports is kind of fully fleshed out and something that we all kind of believe in. Because if we had those three things in play, that would make it so that our gen ed environment would be as absolutely as accessible as we could make it. But those things like these principles are big things. So much easier for me to say than for a district to actually realize. So those are kind of the North Stars that are out there, but we just kind of have to over time through PD discussions and things like that, figure out how we can connect staff to that, but then also have them believe it, and then also support them in terms of implementation.
I just have a quick follow-up that relates to Jeanette's question, if that's okay.
Of course.
Under same bullet item there of the general ed environment, under your leadership, do you think that there'll be some shifts in the special education models in terms of more push-in versus pull-out of service delivery? Just I'm thinking as students mature, age-wise, it becomes socially more of an issue to leave your classroom than to receive your services in the least restrictive environment.
Totally. Yeah. So what I would say to that is Abington is already in a blessed position when it comes to inclusion, because through K-4 they've already got a pretty well realized inclusion model, and I know that there have been a number of inclusion initiatives that are kind of underway, thinking 5 through 12.
That was really where I was targeting, because
Yes.
I think that's where you socially the dynamics of your peers become a little more important to you as an individual.
Right.
So
yeah, and I've already heard from parents too who are kind of interested in the district sort of moving that way. And so already I would say that Abington has a nice foundation to move into that model, in that we've got something pretty well realized during in the first half of our continuum of grades. But it's just a matter of piloting, connecting with the right coach, and just sort of broadening the impact of that. So is it something that I would be pursuing? Yeah, definitely. But also so I guess this would be my second year in a leadership position, and something I've just learned is that you really got to meet a community where it's at and just make sure that you've got full buy-in, and that if you're going to implement it, you're going to implement it successfully. So I'll definitely be working with administrators to try to do that, but it's all about just sort of the right timing.
I hear you. I think I'm just advocating and saying for the public that the sooner the better, and ways to help our 5th through 8th graders feel more comfortable receiving whatever service it is that they need to get the type of learning environment that they need. But I think it's really important that where we have such a strong foundation K-4, and it's something we all accept and are proud of, that we work to make that a reality in 5 through 8 too.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate your input on that, and also just sort of the reassuring thought is that there are a number, as I mentioned, there are some initiatives in terms of growing this. There's one special education teacher whose caseload is going to be shared among some others to allow this person to do some tier 1 and tier 2 support, and make it so that students who are not yet identified aren't identified, but also he'll be doing more grid B type services and inclusion services. So that's one professional working toward it. But as far as a whole system, that takes time.
Yeah, it takes time. Thank you.
I'll try to be efficient in these last slides here. So next up, I'll just be going through the data. So our overall student enrollment, as you all know, is 2,034 students. But our special education enrollment is 323 students. It looks like there was a typo.
It was just updated. That's the latest and greatest.
That's the latest.
Yep. And that'll change by tomorrow. So, just to give you a break with the numbers.
Yeah, so don't think in terms of the exact number, just think in terms of the spirit. So we have our overall eligibility rate is 15.7%. The state average is 17.1%. The target frames given by experts and consultants to DESE give us a target frame of 14 to 16%. So we're right in the target range. It's important to note that Massachusetts has the second highest identification rate in the country. We're behind Rhode Island. And that a number of our neighboring districts do struggle with over-identification, and I'll talk about why that's a problem a little later on. Also just food for, just something you all should know, is that our eligibility rate rose 1.3% over the past year, which isn't a hugely meaningful difference, but something we just have our eye on. You should know that 23 of our students are placed out of district. These out-of-district programs provide a very valuable role to school districts and to struggling students, but sadly they remove students from our community. When you look through our outplaced students, over half of them qualify for an emotional disability. So just something we'll be talking about over time is making our environments more accessible to students who struggle with their emotionality.
James, do you know what that number was last year, like just to get an idea?
No, I don't.
Okay, that's right. I know. No, new to it. I know. It was a shot. Let me know.
We can look it up.
Okay.
All right. We have 71 students with 504 plans. For those of you who just may not know, the difference between a 504 plan acknowledges that a student has a disability, that the disability has a significant impact on a major life function, which in this case would be schooling. But these students do not require specialized instruction. The Section 504 plan is overseen by stipulated by the Americans with Disabilities Act, and unlike special education regulations, there are no procedural safeguards for managing a Section 504, meaning there's no requirements that we update it each year, or that we have certain individuals at a team meeting, or even have a parent's signature, which may surprise some people. But just we'll do our best to try to adhere to the procedural safeguards laid out by IDEA, because that's been prescribed as best practice for managing a 504. In other words, we'll try to treat our 504s in the way that we treat IEPs, so the parents get that same attention and students get the same oversight. Our English language learner population is 122 students. Roughly 1 in 20 students qualify as ELL. We've appointed an ELL director and 2 new ELL teachers. As a community, we'll seek out curriculum materials and activities that celebrate differences, as we think this will promote self-acceptance for all students and prepare our students to participate in a diverse society. Next slide. All right. This chart just displays the number of students who are eligible for special education in our district. By law, we are responsible for educating students with disabilities from age 3 to 22. One desirable trait that you'll notice is that the number of students with disabilities actually kind of decreases as you go through the grade level. Pay attention to the high school there. Why this is considered desirable is that means that these students are gaining independence and prepared to participate in the gen ed curriculum and in independent living. You'll see the post-grad transition group there. These refer to students who have to work on skills for daily living. And we as a district work with employers and community agencies to get them ready for independence. And also just a note, right now we have 39 students in our, students with disabilities in our Abington early education program. We saw a considerable increase in referrals over the past year, but we're making sure that we're adhering to state required ratios and that our staff are equipped to meet the students' needs. All right, so just by going through some data related to our department, I found some encouraging trends that I just thought I'd share on the eve of the new school year. So, as I mentioned, our special education rate is consistent with the state target and consistent with the state average, although slightly below. Some of our neighboring districts over-identify students with special education. This leads to students who may have their standards reduced a little bit, their learning targets reduced a little bit just by being in a special ed program, and it leads to special education teachers who are spread very thin. So over-identification poses a problem to a lot of neighboring districts, but not to us, so that's positive news. Our special education students participate in full inclusion programs with more frequency than the state average and state target, and so that gets to Ms. Abrams' point about inclusion. So already, we're making good progress in comparison to the state, but as Ms. Abrams brings up, there's more work to do in that area. Something that's very positive is we use suspension as a behavior management tool less frequently than the state average, and for students with disabilities. This is great because we're not removing our neediest students from their primary instructors. Also very good news, our special education students graduate with higher frequency. than the state average. And also on the flip side of the coin, we have fewer students with disabilities who are dropping out in comparison to the state. And in last year, we had no students with disabilities who dropped out, which is great.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Your last bullet, we use suspensions less frequently than the state average. With disability, the state target is 0, so we're, I'm assuming, less than 0. What's the state average? Are those two target and?
So there's there's a difference between average and target, and so we're lower than the state average. So we're using suspension less often with kids with for kids who have disabilities than, say, if you were to randomly drop a pin in a town within the state. But what the state advises is that if you've got a kid with disabilities, that kid shouldn't be being suspended. If so, maybe you're not conceptualizing the kid's needs correctly. So they set their target at 0%. We're at 0.4%.
And what's the state average?
0.8.
Thank you.
Quick question here too.
Yep.
You mentioned 504s and IEPs. Are there any procedures currently for staff on signing off that they've read, or the 504? Some districts have I'm not curious how Abington does it.
Yes. So what I can say is at the high school, they there's an implementation form. So shortly after we've signed the 504, the parents have signed the 504, and it's returned, the 504 coordinator will send an email to all the teachers and give them just say about a week's time or so to familiarize themselves, and then come around and do the implementation form. I'm certain that that's happened at the secondary level because I did that while I was here, and but I haven't yet seen the procedures at the elementary level.
I was thinking of like specialists and things at the elementary level who see all classes at a grade level. I as a specialist get a packet of 25 students. I get the 22 students in grade 2, for example.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of expected to have an understanding of their accommodations for when I'm in charge of those students. So
Right.
I was just curious if we had anything like that yet, but we're not sure yet.
Yeah, what I would say is at the secondary level, yes, we definitely do, and I'm totally sure.
Okay.
And then, but at the elementary level, I just need to clarify that.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
But if I had to bet, I would say yes.
Okay, thanks.
Can I
and
just ask a question?
Yep.
So that was happening, and just to clarify, so that was happening when you were here prior, you're new to our district,
Yep.
which we're happy about. And can you 100% verify that it's still occurring? It occurred when you were a couple of years ago here?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, and yes, I can.
Okay,
Yep,
thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, about recent discussions. All right. Coming to the home stretch here. So I just want to give a quick update on our extended school year program. So for those who don't know, the extended school year program is a special education program for students who are vulnerable to skill regression over an extended period of time. And so basically, if we assume that if these students do not participate in the extended school year, then they will be much farther behind at the start of the new school year. Our ESY ran for 4 weeks this year, from July 9th to August 3rd. We had 121 students participate in ESY for programming that spans grades kindergarten through 8th grade. The majority of students receive 75 hours in total of instruction. And for students who need additional behavior support, they participate in an extended day program that offers 32 additional hours. In each classroom, we had at least one classroom teacher and assistant, and no class size exceeded 12 students, which is consistent with DESE requirements. We also have partnered with Eager Beaver Day Camp to make it so that students who are receiving direct social skills instruction can then go to the day camp with paraprofessional assistance to generalize their skills.
James, on that, I just wanted, just because experienced it for quite a few years, great program and continues. I wanted to bring up one thing that was new. I don't know if it was new this year. I think it was. Maybe it was just always done for second graders, and just acknowledge it, I guess. Jen Whitman ran a program to interview different people throughout the community. I know Peter took place in it, and you could see the kids, like, the engagement in them, just the social part of it, the just communicating, making sure they communicate the right way, looking at the person. Great thing, great program. I just wanted to acknowledge it while you brought that up. So.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, Felicia and I were also part of the who was interviewed.
That's right.
And it, like, in addition to it just being like nice in concept, from the special ed point of view, it really focused on a lot of skill development. because it required students to sort of conceptualize questions, write them out, prepare follow-up questions, and then afterwards they all wrote like a nice thank you note to everyone. So, so it was integrated nicely in the curriculum. So thanks for bringing that up. And the very last slide I've got for you. We are blessed to have 4 committed parents who serve on our Special Education Parent Advisory Council. This organization forms a very valuable role of providing support to parents who have children with disabilities. They provide ideas and resources to other parents, but they also provide very necessary input to our school district as to how our decisions impact students and families. I highly recommend any parent in attendance or who may be listening from home to attend a CPAC meeting. The CPAC also aspires to bring speakers to our community this year to help families and our teachers better support their children. You'll just see up there, they're going to meet 4 times a year. It'll be at 6:30 in this very room. And the first one coming up is Monday, September 24th, and I'll actually be presenting there, a basic rights workshop. So this will be to inform parents of their rights as parents who have a child with a disability, and also help them know what to anticipate at an IEP meeting so that they are in a position to advocate effectively. Just last note for you, we have received 10 homeschool applications for the 2018-19 school year. The application information is included in each of your packets so that you as a group may consider their requests.
Anybody have any questions before we take up that request? All right, so I'll be looking for a motion to approve the recommended home education programs. Yeah, Donna, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just want to know about the CPAC meeting.
Yes.
Why are there only 4? Is that...
Well, so they just decided that they wanted to make it so that when they would have a meeting, there would be sufficient enough attendance so that it would be like full conversations, and so that it, so that it felt like a nice, comfortable use of the members' time. And what is well known in the CPAC communities is that there are often very well-meaning chairs who serve on these CPAC committees, but there are a few parents who show up. So
I did this, and they must be the same problems. I was just curious because we had a little conflict with a couple PTO meetings last year.
okay.
So some parents didn't make it that wanted to come, and there were a lot of younger children's parents that really had a lot of questions, and 3 months in between, I just didn't know if there was any way to get a couple more maybe, or something else that we could do too.
Yeah.
I am a special needs mom too, so.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, what might be a great idea is that if you could come to the meeting on September 24th, and if you're not able to come, I can put it on the agenda. But I think that's a valid point, and we'll kind of get the members' input on that.
Thank you.
We all set? So I'll be looking for a motion to approve the recommended home education programs for the 2018-19 school year as recommended in your packet by Mr. James Robbins.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All set.
Thank you.
Report of the superintendent of schools, Mr. Schaefer.
So I want to start by thanking the groups of people that helped us prepare for our opening tomorrow. And I don't think this is going out live on cable. This is taped, right? So because I could review start times and things like that, but after that, by the time people see this, we may have already started. So I want to thank the highway department, and I want to thank the fire department, the police department, even the water department. In our cooperation with the different departments at Abington helps us quite a bit as we get ready to open for tomorrow. In our maintenance department, we've got Jason Lynn and Lance Hammond, who are amazing. They had some help over the summer with some of our returning students who are in college or in high school. Our custodial crews made us proud. We had our open houses last night, and I believe that the buildings and the floors looked clean and like we cared about our buildings. It's important to make a good first impression with the physical spaces that we are going to have people's children. In transportation, Mary Ann, Gail, Colleen, and Carol, tomorrow when the buses roll through Abington, they don't just magically appear. There's a lot of work that goes behind it. I should explain to people, though, that we try to get people to give us their application information in July so that we can set the routes. And what happens is people don't get it in on time, and so we maybe get 1,000 people in July, and people will ask, why don't you get the bus tag until the week before school? It's because we continue to add people, and that changes the bus routes. In the last 2 days, we've taken on about 40 people, and that will continue through next week. We will take on additional people on the buses, and so it does take a couple of weeks for the bus routes to settle out. And if a bus becomes overcrowded, we make adjustments. And especially, we've got the kindergarten coming on September 4th, and that creates a whole nother set of challenges. And people will get upset, but at the same time, we know that people are at their bus stop taking pictures of their children who are getting on a school bus for the first time, and that's a very special moment in their lives. And that's something that I hope always goes on for kiddos getting on the school bus. Want to also thank the people in the tech office. I'm going to talk a little bit about the one-to-one initiative. Rich and Oliver, our secretaries and administrative assistants, and the work that they've done in preparing us, our principals and assistant principals, and because we did a professional development day today, that was I think beneficial. I'm interested in what the survey results are anonymously. Our paras, our teachers, and our tutors always come in to get us ready for the opening. But on top of that, we had the day today where I did at least receive some positive feedback from people that talked to me during the different trainings. Today was a good day, and we didn't know how today would work out. It was new and different for us. We knew that it could be difficult for families to delay sending their kids to school a day, but today went well. I believe it went well. It went so well that I believe people would wish they had 2 or 3 more of those days before we opened. I'm not asking for that tonight. So we added the kindergarten program that we talked about at the end of last year. And I feel good about the numbers that we anticipated, because we have about 20 in each of those full-day kindergarten classes. 22? I said about 20. So, and I feel there's a little room in all of the grades that we could take on students in terms of our overall numbers. I don't want to take on too many more, because the lower the class size, the better for our kiddos. But I feel good about what we predicted and projected in terms of numbers in that full-day program. Because as much as you calculate and you budget and you hope your numbers are right, you never really know until you live with your numbers. We are going to be handing out about 800 laptops next week, and the high school will deploy first at the beginning of the week, and the middle school plans on deploying at the end of the week. We've been talking about the atmosphere in our classrooms. We want them to be like busy high-tech companies on deadline, and we're going to work very hard. The teachers have been working very hard already, but there's a difference between living with the technology with the students, having the laptops in front of them, and then the front loading of the professional development that we've done. And so this is going to take time for us, but it's very exciting to be implementing a one-to-one initiative in our system, and preparing our kids in this way is it's incredible. It's a exciting time for the Abington Public Schools, because we've also added a technology integrationist. We talked about that in the budget last year, and we're excited about the work that they're going to do throughout the year as we continue on. I've got just a couple of things in the packet that you've seen in terms of public information that's gone out. I'll certainly answer any questions that people have. It's a little different. Usually we do this first school committee meeting after the opening. I'm excited about tomorrow. We're going to be out and around everywhere. This leads me to the piece about our SROs. We have 2 SROs in the Abington Public Schools, Anton Lynch and Eamon Beach. Alex Kokoros is no longer assigned to the schools. And so let me be very clear about this. Not only do we have 2 SROs assigned to the schools, I have every confidence that you'll see 2 SROs in our buildings. The police department has talked about the transitions we have in the morning and the afternoon and the traffic flow that we're anticipating, and it will be those officers plus additional officers to help us as we begin school. We still have commuters that are driving through and by our schools that have to adjust that the buses are running again and there are kids out in our neighborhoods. And so I don't know if you've noticed, but around Abington over the last week in the school areas, you've seen cruisers, or I've seen cruisers. And they are there purposefully to begin to train people that we're coming back. And so it'll be all hands from the police department as we open. And then again, I'm confident that we'll see Officer Beach and Officer Lynch regularly scheduled. Sherry mentioned a little bit about the ALICE training. In the first, around September 13th, we plan to continue with our ALICE work and basically review with our students what we did at the end of last year. We want to do it in the beginning part of the year. I do plan on sending a letter home to families, but I didn't want to send it at the opening. The anxiety about what's going on in our country and shootings is there. It's prevalent. I just wanted to get us open and have a couple of days of school and start and talk about technology, and then send that letter home. It'll go home right away. I don't want to wait too long, so that people know that we're continuing the work with the ALICE with our students. Then when we do it later in the year, we can go deeper into it with our students. The first session is going to be a refresher and a review of similar to what you saw at the end of last year, just to prep them because we're in a new school year. We're going to coordinate that with the police department. The police department will be a part of those sessions. The police department, fire department, and other emergency responders will also be doing tabletop exercises with us this year, which are a tremendous benefit to us in working through different scenarios. The drills that they will be doing, they'll also be able to do whatever it is, training and drills that they anticipate going on this year for the police department. We'll partner with them on all those other all the other work they want to do also. That is an overview of what I wanted to mention to you tonight about tomorrow. People have worked very hard to get us ready for a good opening. You only get one chance to open every single year, so you'll want to do it right. And we're about ready to set sail for the 18-19 school year. So I want to answer any questions people have, though. I want to thank the committee members for supporting us, and you were at our, some people were able to make it to our opening with our teachers, showing their support for our staff, and I know that was appreciated, and I appreciate you being there. I just appreciate how much the committee immerses itself in what we're doing, so thank you. Next item?
Yeah, sure.
So, we'd like to ask if you'd consider adjusting this year's school calendar, because we had originally asked you to approve March 27th as a professional development day. We'd like to move it to the 29th. The reason for that is because of the amount of MCAS testing that goes on the 27th. It would be, it would help with the anxiety levels of everybody in the district in terms of fitting the testing in. And the 29th is really a makeup day in terms of the MCAS schedule and testing. And so we haven't printed the green calendars yet, and I know it's old school technology, but people still use those green calendars. And pending your consideration and hopefully your approval, we'll print those and get those out as soon as possible.
we have any questions on it? All right. Look for a motion to approve the revised 2018-19 school calendar, moving the professional day from Wednesday, March 27th to Friday, March 29th.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next piece is Project Contemporary Competitiveness is the PCC program. We're members. We're a member district in this program, and in order to send our students at the reduced rate that our students get to go, I need to serve on the board of directors. I don't get any money for it. Just in case people are wondering, we say board of directors, and it sounds very impressive, but it's to keep our hand in this. So I'd ask if you'd consider appointing me again.
So I'll look for a motion to approve Peter Schaefer to serve as a member of the Board of Directors of Project Contemporary Competitiveness for the upcoming school year.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. You make it.
You make it.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Yay.
All in favor? That was the obvious follow-up. Well said.
Okay. You can fight over it.
Next, report of the Assistant Superintendent, Felicia.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have a few items for you tonight. The first one is a consideration of the agreement with the Abington Cafeteria Association. It's in line with the other collective bargaining agreements that have been settled thus far with, in terms of the money.
Okay. Look for a motion to approve the negotiated memorandum of agreement between the Abington School Committee and the Abington Cafeteria Association as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yep.
FY19 budget update. We're just into FY19. We actually signed a second payroll today. We are, as of today, fully staffed. There sometimes are changes that happen as the year moves on. As Peter mentioned, with the increase that was voted at town meeting, full-day kindergarten has been implemented, the technology integration specialist, a 0.6 English teacher at Abington High School, and a special education teacher at the middle school. The major part of that is, the other part is that we're still in negotiations with the Unit B of the Abington Education Association, which is the paraprofessionals, tutors, and secretaries. That is that's the last collective bargaining group that we have to settle with. So at this time, the increase by major category page still shows an enablement to negotiate for all groups, and that group is included in there. So that's the updated budget. Any questions on that? Status report on the summer facilities, and if it's okay, I'm going to roll that in with the building update, because a lot of those, some of the facility projects were built. I'll start with some of the projects that were done and completed here at 201 Goodlands Way. If you came by the building this summer, you saw that there was quite a significant amount of site work that was completed over the summer. That was, we had to add drainage to the site. If you were around the building last winter, you knew that we had some places that had ice and running water, and so we added a number of catch basins in those areas. Of note, at the front of the building by the preschool and pre-K entrance, and on the middle school crosswalk area. And we're hoping that all of that underground drainage that was added should take care of those problems. We also had a lot of work done on the fields, and they were finished and seeded and being watered, so we're on track with those. You might have noticed when you came in, or if you were in over the summer, we had about 80% of the sheet linoleum flooring replaced. There was, we've talked about it a little bit throughout the year. There wasn't a problem with the product, there was a problem with the installation of the Forvo flooring, and through numerous discussions and arguments, we did finally, with no cost to the district, had about, like I said, 80% of the flooring, and that's all the flooring that's in this main part of the building, the 2 cafeterias, the hallways that extend down to the gymnasium, and around that gym and auditorium area. They actually finished cleaning them this afternoon, so.
It looks so much better than what we had.
It looks so much
good.
better.
Very good.
And additionally, we were able to add some wall protections that also down those long hallways that lead down to the auditorium gym area from both the middle school and the high school cafeteria. We found shortly after moving in, not for any other reason except we have 1,200 kids moving through this building, that those walls were getting dirty, and they were not easy to clean, so we were able to have a product installed, and I think they look great. Some other things around the district, at Woodsdale, we have, in conjunction with the Woodsdale PTO and the Coombs Foundation, new backboards, seal coating, and line painting in the back, in the play area in the back of the building. I think it looks great. Ongoing maintenance that we do every summer is change all of the air filters in all of the classrooms. We have the scheduled maintenance to boilers, water systems, water heating systems. All those happen during the summer. A significant amount of painting happened this summer at both Woodsdale, Beaverbrook, and here. And I think the spaces that were painted look great. And we are continually doing lighting updates, upgrades at both Beaverbrook and Woodsdale for energy efficiency. And those happened over the summer. And I think that's it on the summer facilities reports. And I do need to thank, and Peter did it also, but to the maintenance and custodial staffs, the DPW in town for their hard work.
I was just going to say to Jason Lynn and his crew, and to you, Felicia, for helping with that, facilitate the Woodsdale project out back, because it got done really quickly and it looks great. The kids are going to love it.
They're super excited about it.
Little things like the renovation of the boys' room at the Beaverbrook Elementary School is something that no one really appreciates, but it needed to be done. So.
And there are, I mean, the list of, and I think that's a good point, the list of items that occur during the summer by maintenance and custodial staff really is so huge, and things that you may know, you may not know, but the work that happens from the minute school gets out to today is very extensive, and you know, Jason and Lance are forever fixing this, updating that. The custodians are painting drops, you know, we're adding ceilings, we're changing lighting, and this building also has taken on kind of a life of its own with the building management system and the heating and cooling, and we've also struggled, the other system that we've struggled with here is the reclaimed water system, and that's taken a lot of time in trying to figure out what's going on between Jason and the head custodian, Jamie. So I think it's been a very productive and great summer in Abington. Lot done. And so we're on budget on time. Update on textile recycling. In your packet, you have a printout from our program to date, which is, I think, quite impressive. We started this program in the 2012-2013 school year, and over that time, the bins that are located at each school, and then there's also a bin at Center School that those proceeds go to, at the bottom of the hill, go to the preschool, pre-K, and then the bin at the old Center School is the middle school, and those funds go to the PTO. So since inception, those bins have collected 326,000 pounds of textiles since 2012-13 school year, and that first year was a pretty low year. And in rebates back for those textiles that would have otherwise either been put in the trash or put in some bin someplace else, the PTOs for our schools have collected over $16,000, which is
Free money.
phenomenal. Free money. You're getting rid of your clothes anyway. So this is your public service announcement as you clean out your closets to change them over to winter clothes. Please deposit your textiles, and textiles include belts, shoes, anything any soft.
Stuffed animals.
Stuffed animals, comforters, pillows, belt, yep, all of those. They don't weigh a ton, they take a lot of space, but everything.
There's nothing to them.
And anything, any of those clothing items, like we were joking about, stuffed animals, sheets, comforters, blankets, all of those get recycled, and we get the proceeds. And the benefit is we're also not paying the tonnage on the trash side, and we're getting money back to our schools. So.
Great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Felicia. Next up, so establishment of next school committee meeting date. We're meeting Tuesday, September 25th at 7 p.m. here in the high school, middle school library. Before we move on to dates to remember, I just wanted to mention at our last meeting in June, we had parents discuss recess time for middle school in particular. I just want to let everybody know that grades 5 and 6 do now have 20 minutes of recess set up on a going forward basis, and location will be adjusted as the grass field is available, can make it even better. That's where we stand as of now. So I want to let everybody know that. As far as do you want to take the dates? Sure. As far as the dates to remember, Monday, September 3rd is Labor Day. All buildings are closed. The next day, September 4th, the early education program and full day kindergarten begin. September.
Could I mention also
Yes.
that's election day?
Yes. Yep.
That,
Primary election day.
So it's going to be a chaotic site here. I'm told that 10% turnout is what they expect, which is 300 people throughout the day. We have a plan with the police department to help mitigate it, but obviously it's going to be a busy place on the 4th.
No, I hear you. The next day, the 5th, busy week.
About parking if you are coming to vote, that parking is behind the gym.
Okay.
There'll be additional handicap parking near the gym area and then behind the gym because we're looking to use the back farthest gym for the election.
Well, there'll be people.
There'll be
directing traffic.
signage and there'll be police officers and there'll be election workers.
I guess this is a random question off of that. Are candidates allowed to be out there?
There's a certain number. It's a great question. There's a certain number of feet or yards that they have to stay away. I believe they're going to keep them up off of Glenowitz.
Okay.
I
worry more about the entrance to the pre-K.
Yeah, if that changes in some way, I'd let you. If I find out about it, I'll let you know. But I believe they'll only be allowed up on Glenowitz.
Okay.
And we're going to work, and we've spoken with the police department, and for all of the entries and exit times, there's going to be a plan.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
It's not to say that we're going to be able to, that it's going to be an easy day.
No, I hear you.
Especially as if you remember, I know you do, we adjusted our start times, and now there's a 25-minute swing between the middle and the high school. So we really pushed it to honor as much as we could what people wanted to do, but we really pushed it. And so I'm concerned about that swing time, the 25 minutes between entering and exiting school.
Get to try it out tomorrow.
Tomorrow's a bad example.
We're still taking students for the bus. I'm not trying to make money, I'm just trying to make it easier.
So, thank you. Good luck to everybody. Wednesday, September 5th, Greenway Boosters meeting here in the library. Okay, in the library. Sunday, September 9th, the Jeff Koons Memorial Road Race takes place. Begins at 9 a.m. at the Woodsdale School. Behind it, there's everything set up. There's registration inside. Tuesday.
Can I just say one thing about the race
Yes.
for people at home who may not have run or walked it in the past? I think it's such a special thing that the money that the foundation raises goes to some great causes, and this year in particularly, we're going to be beginning the race and standing in this beautiful new space that has sort of come to life with the help of the foundation. So, all of you runners or walkers who may have been waiting to join, come out on September 9th and support a great cause.
Thank you, Jackie. The following week, Tuesday, September 11th, Abington Music Parents Meeting here at 6 p.m. On the next day, Wednesday, September 12th, the AEF will be having their monthly meeting at 7 p.m. at Town Hall. And their plan is to have a meeting on the second Wednesday of each month going forward. So keep that in mind. Thursday, September 13th, in-service early release day for students. Sunday, September 16th, the Abington Music Parents Craft Fair at the high school, middle school. I saw signs everywhere along the roads from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. As mentioned earlier, Monday, September 24th, the CPAC meeting in the library at 6:30 p.m., as well as the Wednesday, September 26th, grades K through 6 curriculum night in the auditorium beginning at 6 p.m. And lastly, on Saturday, September 29th, Abington Education Foundation is having a back-to-school event for parents and guardians at Players Sports Venue in Rockland, Massachusetts at 7 p.m. So lots of things in the month of September. Before we adjourn, I just wish everybody a great year. Staff, students, families. And with that, make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
I second it.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jan's like, I'm making the motion to go. Get into my bed.
Okay.